All right, I know we have all been trying to figure out, will Brock Purdy play against the Cardinals this Sunday at the home opener? And Kyle Shanahan went on KBR and said that there is a, quote, good chance Brock Purdy could be able to play against the Cardinals. Now, I have covered this team for a long time. And what does that mean? That means I've covered a lot of injuries. That means I've covered a lot of Kyle Shanahan speaking about injuries. So, if this ultimately is gamesmanship, using the media, because again, one of the interesting things from today was both quarterbacks spoke today. Mac Jones was first, Brock Purdy was second at the podium. Typically, it was just scheduled for Brock Purdy to speak. Then it was Mac Jones and Brock Purdy, and that was like, okay, that's interesting. It's a interesting dynamic we have here of both quarterbacks speaking. Mac Jones said that he wanted, to play, and Brock said, we got to be smart about it. Can't allow ourselves to, put myself in jeopardy in the short term to impact the long term. Makes a lot of sense. Simultaneously, while that interview was happening, Kyle Shanahan was speaking at the same exact time on KBR, saying that with Brock returning to practice this week, turning in, we know he turned in a limited participation yesterday. I did not see if they have disclosed what the full practice report is. I don't think they have. So we'll see. We'll see how that looks once that comes out. So he was practicing today. So at minimum, Brock has gotten 2 limited participations. And I've said this each and every day that we've kind of been covering this situation. And just to reiterate, typically I'm looking for at minimum 1 limited participation. Just one. If you can get in there on a Friday in a limited participation, then there's a chance you can go. And we referenced Juwan Jennings. He didn't practice the first 2 days of the week. Last week, turned in a limited participation. He played, scored a touchdown. Juwan Jennings this week hasn't practiced the first 2 days. And that makes Friday a big-time indication of, will he put in a limited participation and potentially practice, which puts him in a spot to potentially play. So bringing this back to Brock Purdy, and what Kyle Shanahan said is he's saying that there's a good chance. He's speaking this out loud. And I really, really do believe for Kyle Shanahan to speak on any type of injury, give any type of inclination or indication that a player could go, I have to believe he means it, because we've seen so many scenarios. I mean, you just look at, people were using Kyle Shanahan's words against him from OTAs when Ricky Pearsall wasn't available to go with a hamstring, I believe it was, and he said, he should be good by training camp. Well, guess what? Ricky Pearsall was not good by training camp, and everyone was like, Kyle Shanahan, he lied, So again, when I say in preface that I've covered a lot of 49ers injuries, and I've covered a lot of Kyle Shanahan speaking on injuries, if he doesn't know, he's not going to say anything. If he does know, he typically, if he's saying something in a transparent form of way, I have to take him for his word, because the 49ers have had so many injury issues over the past, because he's had to be extremely careful with what he says, because his words have been used against him, timelines have been used against him. I have a hard time rationalizing that this is just gamesmanship. You know, Brock basically said himself, we're going to have to figure out, around game time. So what I'm hearing from Brock is basically him saying, I'm a game time decision. I want to be out here. I want to win. He talked about there's only 17 opportunities guaranteed in a season. If you can go, you go. You never want to miss games, but you also got to be smart, protect yourself, and protect the team. So those are the things that are being weighed, and I do believe that, you take in all these factors, and it seems to be that things are trending in the right direction. Now, again, adding another layer onto this, John Lynch was on KBR this morning, and when asked about Brock Purdy, John Lynch said there's a chance Brock Purdy could be a backup in this game against Arizona. He could potentially be the emergency quarterback, which would indicate that I would say that if this was an elimination game, if this was a playoff game, Brock Purdy is guaranteed most likely playing. But because it's week 3, the 49ers are 2-0, that it doesn't necessarily make sense to put him in there if they don't have to. And when you have a quarterback like Mac Jones as your backup, it gives you a little bit of flexibility. So there's a lot of layers to this. There's a lot of different variable outcomes, but the variable that seems to be the one that is trending in the right direction does feel like feels like he's gonna go. I don't know. That's the way that I'm looking at it. That's how I see it potentially coming together. We'll see. And obviously tomorrow is going to be the big day where I think we really get the true indication. And this is kind of how it works. We're trying to piece it together, heading into Friday practice. After Friday, we'll get the true designation, if he's questionable, if he's a game time decision, if he's doubtful, or if he's out. So we'll find that out tomorrow. But again, he'll have another opportunity to practice. The fact that he practiced today, I think, is also pretty telling, because Thursday practices are their most I don't want to say grueling, but their most intensive practice. Basically Wednesday and Friday are like walkthrough days. Basically, they're only in helmets. The Thursday is more thud tempo.